All right, all right, all right. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the HHC podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Moreno, and I'm here with my wonderful brothers, Chris, Josh, and Juan. How are you guys doing today?
All
Can't
right, man.
tell. Can't tell if I'm more tired of the Saturday night ones or it's Sunday morning. I can't tell.
Yeah.
But doing good. Fiesta parade was last night, so kind of a late night, but excited for this playing.
Yeah, I'm super excited for the plan, so I wanted to try to start off this podcast episode with a lot more
Yeah,
energy because we
appreciate
have
it.
some exciting stuff to talk about today, guys. Before we do get into the Spurs talk that we usually do, guys, we come onto this podcast every Sunday at 10 a.m. where we do go live to the platforms of Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. You can watch all of us go live on all four of those platforms. But if you cannot catch us during those live times, you can always watch the VODs on all four platforms right after. Guys, make sure that you do follow us on Twitter at Heroes Half Court, where we do talk Spurs basketball on the near daily. We love having the interaction with y'all on the Spurs Twitterverse, so do not be afraid to reach out and talk some Spurs basketball with us. You know, the season's coming to the end. We know that we have our play-in coming in, and might not be a lot of Spurs basketball to talk about within the next couple weeks, but we still got some to talk about this week, guys. We had, I would say, a pretty fun week of basketball to look back on. We had gone 2-2, won our first two, lost our second two on the week. But I feel like I can't be super disappointed in any of these games, especially considering the fact that we didn't have DeJounte. But Juan, I know you were able to tune into all these games and have some cool things that you were talking to us about through our group chat. But how do you feel about this week?
Kind of to your point, no Dejounte, and then having it was funny. Like I think the Portland game, I was like, well, how many opportunities is Keldon gonna have where he's the best player on the court, like either side, and he had some opportunities to show that, and like just kind of you're just kind of better than everybody. Just trying to see him like take advantage of that and be aggressive, like when the team's like under your reign. And then the Denver game, Jokic is a beast, and he's been throwing up monster numbers. A little too advanced for a lot of people, like 40 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists. Like that's but he had a great game, but we were able to kind of shut everybody down. The classic like Spurs game plan, like let the guy get his and then just shut everybody else down. And Keldon did enough in that game to help like keep us afloat. And then when help came around, we pulled away in that game, and it was uh it was pretty good seeing like Devin and Keldon, Lonnie to some extent in some of these games like take command in some of these stretches, which I think is important because when it comes to this playing game, having confidence, having guys in rhythm is we don't want like last year in the playing game when we just came in and like everybody was flat. DeMar was flat, couldn't get a call. DeJounte couldn't get anything going, and so I think this week can help build a little bit of confidence of these guys have a chance to come in and hit a couple buckets in a row, get rolling.
Yeah, no, 100%. I don't think there's anything wrong with that rhythm aspect. That's the thing that I feel like Pop has kind of said a little bit. It's the reason why I think DeJounte will probably play against Dallas because he hasn't been able to play at all these last stretch of games, and we need him to be able to have he's our most important player. He has to be the person that has to have his game to the T ready to go come in on Wednesday against the Pelicans. So 100% agree with you on what you're talking about with rhythm. But Josh, do you have anything to add for the week?
No, I mean, like y'all guys said, we had our best player out, and I feel like we competed to the best of our abilities. The 2-2, I'll take it. Winding down to the end of the season, knowing we're going to be in that play-in. It's kind of I feel like the guys are just gearing up for it. Like Juan said, we got a chance to see Keldon shine. Trey Jones played really well. Devin had a great game, even though we talked about it. He smoked a three for his 23 points. We were talking about it, but
This guy cannot break 22.
yeah, I don't think he will. Hopefully in the play-in, right? That's where
Hey,
it counts.
that's the time.
Yeah,
Yep.
hopefully in the play-in. But Lonnie's been hurt. He just had a quote last night saying like he's had that lower back pain since I think it was the Pelican game, right?
Mhm.
That he got hurt in.
That Jake was at. Jake was at that game.
Oh yeah, so you knew something bad was gonna happen there. But
Exactly.
like, yeah, he said that he's just gonna have to play through it. That he is the playing game coming up. It's important, so that he'll play through that. And DJ has I don't know what I forgot what he said, like a stomach bug or I don't know what he had. He just felt
Yeah.
sick.
And he said he lost.
Respiratory. I thought. I
Oh,
thought it said
was he
The
respiratory?
injury,
no,
I
but
didn't even.
he did say that he had lost some weight and stuff like that too. So
yeah,
Yeah,
the
so
injury report had said that it was like an upper respiratory illness, non-COVID related. That's like
right.
what the injury report was saying for him. So
Yeah, so I feel like DJ and a couple of guys are getting healthy. Like you said you want him to play. I was kind of with Sean Elliott last night on the broadcast. He's like, I don't want none of these guys to even travel. Just let them stay home and let them rest up. Like I'm kind of on that boat, but yeah, I mean it was a good week. Good week for our bench. Like having them play like a lot of extended minutes. Like so overall, I feel like it was pretty good for all of our guys to get that run in heading towards the play-in.
yeah, no. Talking about the bench, and it was definitely one thing for me when I saw I think Joey's camp hit a three against Golden State like late in the game, and obviously he's young and it's not even like a big deal when if he's not making them throughout the season or whatever, but. It was definitely one thing where I finally saw him knock it down, and I was like, "All right, let's go!" I finally got to see Joe
Yeah, Joe.
in transition, knock down the three, and it was really cool to see that. One thing I'll say was disappointing was the lack of Romeo Langford. I think at the beginning of the week there was like he like played a little bit, but then got I think a little tweak or something like that, which made him not
dang
play.
again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so then and then I don't know if he was even in for the Denver game, but he just got very little minutes throughout this week, and it was definitely just disappointing whenever it was like, oh man, it definitely felt like with DeJounte out, you had a guard position available. Really wish Romeo would have been able to get some extended time.
See,
But
and you guys keep saying like at a guard. Just a little quick thing. We've talked about this. Chris like always says like he like K to this, K to that. I feel like Romeo Langford is big enough to play that spot like that Kata does and kind of keep it like versatile and like he doesn't have to be your guard. He doesn't have to be out there at your 1 and 2. Like you could throw him at the 3 or 4 the way we run lineups. But yeah, like you said, like he just always is tweaking that hamstring. We haven't got a chance to look at him. But every time he gets out there, I'm surprised with how big he is. He is, and his like defensive instincts look like they're there. He just doesn't play, and so he looks lost a little bit. Like he doesn't know the scheme or what the team is doing. But he makes deflections, and he's got a lot of size.
yeah, exactly.
I mean, so I just did like a real quick Google, and it said Langford 6'4", 216, and then when I did Kata Bates, it was 6'8", 229. So I mean, I think it's just like Kata Bates in particular. It's kind of like Rudy Gay. Like when people were mad about Rudy Gay playing, and it was like, yeah, I get what you're saying, but at the same time, all the minutes that Rudy Gay was taking up was like our center and power forward minutes, and I think Kata Bates is the same thing. It's like he was just slotted into that power forward,
Yeah.
I'm surprised it said Romeo Langford was 6'4" because he looks bigger to me.
And I literally just Googled his name, and it was like I guess it's the Basketball Reference is the top like whatever, so that would be where the number is coming from. And I do know that like if you were to check 4 sites, you might get 2 to 3 different results. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I definitely I don't know if I could see Romeo hitting that 4 spot like where Kata does usually play, but I definitely see what you're talking about like in playing him as a forward. And either way, it was just a thing of like can't help but be a little disappointed to just see that like he wasn't able to be on the court for the
Yeah.
4 games this
Well,
last week.
let's hope that he feels good enough to go to Dallas.
Yeah, 100%. Chris, do you have anything on the week to add?
Well, I did want to say so. Like I thought it was a good week, but mainly because I with Fiesta here in San Antonio I was working both Thursday night and last night, so I didn't get to watch the Timberwolves game live. I had to watch the highlights. I didn't get to watch the Warriors game. I did get to watch a little, like a tiny bit of the last 6 minutes of the game which was really entertaining because we were cutting into the lead and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. I just wanted to get like y'all's impression on those games. I know that the Timberwolves game had like the whole Anthony Edwards going for 50 and blah 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 at the end. I didn't see any of that because if you watch the highlights, it was like a close game. Or sorry, it was like like it looked like Minnesota had control. And I think they on the highlight video they skipped from 3 minutes to 11 seconds, and it was like a 2-point game. And Wieskamp is shooting free throws. I was like, what happened?
Yeah.
So I missed that whole end. And then from what I saw, it just, to be honest, it kind of just looked like a lot of Jordan Poole falling on the floor and him getting whistles. So I wasn't able to sit and watch with audio on and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. Like the reason I bring those two games up though is because that kind of one game scenario, like it's going to be against a team like Minnesota, right? It's going to be or I mean, in this case, it's New Orleans, but I don't know. I'm just trying to think of like, are there any parallels to like how those games finished and how we could see a play-in game going? You know what I mean? But I wasn't there to kind of see the officiating, so like I don't know. Like, how did you guys see those two games wrapping up?
I'll at least talk about the Minnesota game, and if anybody wants to add their input on the Golden State game, they can. But the Minnesota game, definitely, like you said, it was pretty much in their control the entire time. But they were trying to force the ball to Anthony Edwards so that he could get a 50-piece. And that's when, like the last couple minutes of the game were just Anthony Edwards chucking up shots, and then our team capitalizing off of it.
Chucking up threes because he was stuck on 47, remember?
Yeah, exactly.
Like long threes.
He was like, he kept taking these ugly looking shots, and our team capitalized on it and almost made a full comeback from it.
While it was happening, did like his teammates or his coaches look like a little?
They were fouling us.
Yeah,
they were fouling us to
get extra possessions.
Yeah, and
See,
they were up.
So like me and Jake had this talk. It was just me and Jake on the episode like 3-4 weeks ago, and one of the last times that we played Minnesota, I'm pretty sure is the one where Cat goes off
for 60.
And yeah, it's just like when you watch them, it's like they have so much talent, but they're also so plagued with just that like they have no leadership. They have no like. You know, it's like why would you see something like that? Or let me say, like, if you were to look at the standings, every team sitting above Minnesota, it's like, would you see something like that happen on those teams? Right. And so it's like, it just baffles me how like they're so led by their talent and not their like I don't know, like I'm failing to find the word, but it's like they just don't have the maturity, right? It's like they just don't have a lot of that part of it yet, you know. Still, they don't have that.
That's exactly why I want to play them. Like I want to play them.
Especially. So not having watched the game, but seeing that it was kind of in their control again, kind of like how the last time we played them. I'm kind of the same way. I'm like, we played them kind of close, but we let Cat go off. We played him close again, and we're just seeing the makeups of both teams a little bit better. And I just feel I feel confident like that we could beat a team like that, right? Yeah. My only concern becomes in a one game. If this was like a 7, if like let's say we squeaked into the playoffs and our first matchup was against Cat and the Wolves, I would feel way more confident over a 7-game series that they would find ways to beat themselves. My concern is that in a 1-game scenario, the talent carries them across. You know what I mean? Because that's kind of what I've seen. With go ahead, Juan.
I had this conversation with my buddy PJ over the week because I think it was leading up to the Minnesota game. I was like, you know, we could play against Minnesota in the play, and I was like, and we competed well against them last time. It literally took a 60-point career night to beat us because that game was close. And then sure enough, it was the same way, Chris. Like we were in the game. I think we were winning after the first quarter, but you know, Anthony Edwards is going off, so that's what's kind of like carrying them, pushing them over us. And to their credit, like you got the talent, that's possible. Like. But I always go back to this Tony Parker quote after Cleveland came to San Antonio and Kyrie dropped like a 50 bomb on us. And it was like the final possession. And Tony Parker said, I think we're all right. He's like, if it takes a 50-point game to beat us, we're in a pretty good position. And that's kind of how I view games like that. Like if we're like neck and neck with them and it's taking a career day and he has to keep it up. Like, yeah, you give them the credit. they put it down like that. But this game was kind of the same way. It got away from us a little bit in the fourth quarter, and then like to you guys' point,
they let us right back
they
in.
in it, and that's what gives me confidence. It's like they're throwing around these like personal accolades, like at the expense of the game. There's like Matt Bonner had some good quotes, like Sean Elliott wasn't happy with it. They were all like really dogging the Timberwolves.
They were mad at Pop. A lot of their fans were mad at Pop. Remember when we fouled him so he wouldn't get a 3 off, so he could only take the 2 free throws, and he got stuck on 49. Like if you went on Twitter, all their fans were like saying how we're whack.
Yeah,
because we did that. And
I didn't get home on Thursday until pretty late, because we were at Alamo Stadium, right? And so I saw that. Like that's all I really saw from the night. As I was like winding my day down, was like there was a Timberwolves fan who like posted a video saying like easiest dub of our lives or whatever. Yeah, and I'm not on Twitter for the drama, and that's for sure. But that's all I really saw from the night was that, like you said, the Timberwolves fans were mad because it felt like we were purposely stopping him from getting 50. But what you guys are saying is that they were like very obviously trying to get extra possessions and get him that.
Yeah.
That's kind of I'm actually kind of glad that I didn't watch it. It was live. I probably would have been like, "This is."
It was
ugly.
infuriating live, even though they were letting us back in it. It was like, I cannot believe this guy is taking every At one point, he shot a 3. They got the offensive rebound. He caught it, immediately threw it back up. There was 40 seconds left in the game.
Yeah, and then so I saw after the game, the reporter asked him a question. He was like, "I think we're gonna make a lot of noise in the playoffs," and I was like, "What, really? That's what you took away from that game?"
Joe missed a 3 late too, like with seconds left, that could have tied it, right, or could have brought it within 1.
Yeah,
like we had our chance. It was pretty ridiculous.
That's
exactly like I said. I wanted to play them because just like what Juan said, it took like we played them 2 times in the last couple of weeks, and it took 2 career nights to scrape by us.
But I do get like I said, against the Minnesota Timberwolves in a 7 game, I feel way better. In a 1 game, like I've just seen like and I said this to Jake too on that one episode, is like, to me they all start to feel like they're taking their leadership and their whatever they're learning that kind of stuff. They're learning that stuff from like a guy like Pat Bev. So like what I told him is like, Pat Bev, he has like all these like sneaky little things that he does, but those are like to hide and mask like deficiencies in his game, and Cat doesn't have as many deficiencies in his game, so you don't need to sit and bicker and cry and do all these things like Pat does. You don't need to do that. So like it frustrates me when Cat gets into his whiny bag in like the first quarter, because I feel like that just puts the pressure on the refs over the course of the game to start to lean it that way. So when you got Cat doing that, and then you get not to say that Anthony Edwards is like that. I haven't seen him play too often, but like, the potential's there for him to start to feel that entitlement, right? Of like, I can score 50. You need to start giving me these whistles. You know what I mean? And all those kind of things. Like, it just makes me like not want to watch them play basketball. So,
yeah.
But it gives me concern with playing against him in a 1 game scenario. Are we just going to get legislated out of the game over the course of 4 quarters? I don't want to watch that for 48 minutes. You know what I mean? So like that's what gives me concern.
Yeah, that's all your reasons exactly why I want them out like this. Let's play them. Let's get them out of it.
I said this after the game ended. I was like, the basketball gods will remember this. They're gonna make it where we're matched up.
Paul George will take care of it, maybe.
Yeah, and I think it's like perfectly setting up. I'm gonna go ahead and knock on wood, but it's like I think it's perfectly setting up. They have those 2 games against us, but that's what they're trying to do. They're purposely trying to get their guys to get personal accolades, and it'd be a perfect ending for us to knock them out like through the playing game.
Yeah,
yeah, right.
Go ahead. They took out
those regular
Clippers.
Season accolades, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And one thing that I kind of want to bring into comparison, like Chris was talking about with like Pat Bev being that veteran presence, it's a thing for me when I look at like how like, in a sense, how culture really does matter and how having your veteran presence does matter. Because to me, you look at a team like Phoenix, who has a lot of players, young players that have a lot of talent, in comparison to Minnesota, who honestly, I would say like have a little bit more upper end talent, where like, you have like Cat, Anthony Edwards, and D'Lo as your top three and young players. And on Phoenix, it's like Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, followed by a little drop off, right? And so it's a thing of just like you see how much talent Minnesota has, but their leader is Pat Bev, and you see the talent that Phoenix is working with, and their leader is Chris Paul, and you see where like the difference between that 1 seed and a 7th seed that could get knocked out of the playoffs is,
Yeah.
And so
I mean, culture, like you said, it's culture. It's winning basketball.
Yeah.
And that's not even to like discredit a guy like Pat Bev. I'm like, if there's one thing that I'll say is that like his addition to that Timberwolves team has definitely shown like they have improved a lot from the season prior, and like they're not nearly as they weren't nearly as frustrating to watch as it was last year for them. But it's just that
You would just hope that like their stars would start to come into their own, and on one hand it feels like, well, I don't want to put Anthony into the conversation because he's still young, and Cat's been there for a little bit though. Is like you haven't really seen it yet with Cat, and then when you do see it, it's like the things that I'm seeing is like the things that I don't want to see from him. Like the developments in his character are not the things that I want from him.
He was doing the same thing. He was getting into it with the refs this last game, and like they weren't giving him any calls, and then he would come right down and
just barrel his way, I bet, right?
Yeah. And it's just like
that's how he did it last time too, and it was frustrating.
It's exactly. I say it out loud. I'm like, why is he taking it out on us that the refs aren't like giving him calls? Like he's coming out here and like, it's exactly the same way that happened the first game.
Or even worse than that though is like, why are the refs rewarding these like haphazard ways of trying to get your point across? And that's what I was telling Jake too. It's like instead of you get 2 or 3 drives that don't go your way, and instead of like I'm just gonna put you on my back and like do and use my skill, instead it just goes completely the other way, right? And so okay, that's his approach. That's the way he wants to try to handle it. I don't think it's on the refs to appease him. You know what I mean? If he's gonna cry and then his result of crying is now he's gonna start flailing his body, don't. You know what I mean? Like let him know that if you're a ref and you felt you were right in your call the first time, then you have to show that the next time and the next time when he starts to try to push that way. It's like, no, I stand by what I said, and instead it feels like, oh, now you're gonna cry about it. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna have to give you some, and it's like, why? What has he really earned yet to get those? You know what I mean? And it's like that's what frustrates me the most is like they don't have it yet. It's like I'm on Team Westbrook at this point, right? Like none of those guys have done anything yet. So what the heck are we treating them like that for?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so kind of to your point, I know you had asked about the Golden State game as well, but kind of to that point, I felt like Jokic was doing that type of stuff as well in that Denver game. He wasn't happy with the calls he wasn't getting, and he would literally catch the ball like at the 3-point line and just full speed.
And the refs did a much better job against Jokic of like not giving him every single one of those little flails, right? Like there was many times that I felt that I was like, I could see them giving him a call right there. I could see them blowing a whistle for him in a makeup fashion or in there was contact. And there were times when it just didn't come, right? And so like that's the kind of stuff that I would like to see. Like I would like to see Cat go through that because it'll make him a better player. You don't when you acquiesce to people being a baby, it just makes them a baby. Again, you know what I mean? You pick the kid up when they're crying, I guess, or whatever. I don't know. I'm not a father, so I can't speak to it.
Well, I mean, and in that comparison too, it's definitely one of those things where one person's an MVP candidate and the other one is a good center, like a top 3 center in the league, but is not in that conversation compared to.
So I don't know. It's like, well, I guess what I'm hoping for is like, if that's the way it is, we were waiting so long, not waiting so long, but like we were waiting at one point of when we had Kawhi Leonard, like, okay, at some point Kawhi's going to start getting superstar calls. You can feel it. Like you could feel it. And so I'm hoping that we're on that turning the corner of like, we have an all-star now. We should get respect when this guy is leading our offense and at least have one guy that can have that kind of treatment as well. You know what I mean? Because it's tough. It's tough when we're looking at every single team that's above us. That's we can see that situation happening in any situation. We can see a game where Brandon Ingram all of a sudden just gets everything he wants, and it's like, well, shoot, that just took us out of the game 100%, or a big chunk of it. So.
Hasn't it started with DeJounte's calls right post All-Star? Hasn't he gotten to the line like?
I think he has been
like,
getting more. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
He went from like 2 free throws a game to 7 or 8.
Yeah, and he needs to continue that. Like that's gonna have to continue into the play-in.
It was definitely a thing too to like notice his aggressiveness. Like he did start to attack the rim just a little bit more, and then those calls started to come a little bit more. And it's just like the kind of thing of like, yeah, once he started driving it to the rim, and like
he had been driving all year. He just would
Yeah,
get bumped and no call.
I'm
And
saying
now-
I'm saying like now, yeah, exactly right. Like he gets those calls, but I'm saying I think it just took a little bit of time over the year for him to like add whatever it was that he did to add a little bit for the refs to just be like, okay,
It
we'll
was
start.
he added an All-Star selection. Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. He added the All-Star selection.
Well, Chris, before we do get into this Golden State talk, just because we were talking about Denver, I do want to bring that game up because that was to me the most exciting game of the week. That was a game that I was like, heck yeah, like seeing us take a W against an MVP, a former MVP, maybe another a 2-time MVP by the end of this week. It was just very nice to see us get a W against him without our All-Star, without DeJounte, and I was super happy with what I saw from everybody on the court. I don't think there's really anybody that like outright I can think of disappointed me. Even like, I mean, seeing how like Lonnie in only 20 minutes was still trying to catch his rhythm and wasn't necessarily like losing confidence throughout his limited time of play, right? Stuff like that where I was just like, I was not disappointed with anybody on this game, and we were hitting on all cylinders to be able to get this win. But how do you guys feel about that Denver game?
Yeah, I enjoyed the fact that it felt like we had to play well to beat a team like that, and so to see, I think when I look at it, yeah, it was 32 in the first, 32 in the second. We had a 21-point third quarter, which was like the worst that we had, and then we responded with a 31-point in the fourth, 31-18 in the fourth. So like just good responses from the team is kind of what I took away from it. Distribution was pretty good too. 20 for Keldon, 20 for Devin, 14 and 14 for Trey, 13 for Zach, which is good. And then 18 for Josh Richardson. I'd have to think. Again, with a performance like that, it's timely buckets, right? It's doing the things that we need from him at the right time. So
He hit like a dagger 3 and was celebrating.
Yeah,
like
that's
crazy.
right. Yeah, that's right.
This is big time. Josh is big time.
Exactly. So no, I agree. I think most of us, well, other than Josh, going 4-0 on or like always predicting a lossless week or whatever. I think most of us assumed that we were gonna beat the Trailblazers, lose to the Nuggets, and then there's probably a toss up between Minnesota and Golden State or whatever. So to see that win come on against the toughest matchup of the week, I'm glad, especially like you were saying, like what can we pull as these games are coming to an end, especially now that we know, I mean, we only have one more, but like even as we had something to play for, or I guess let me just say it that way, the framing of us having something to play for has sharpened our focus, has sharpened our. Go ahead.
That's what was good about that Denver game, because that was the game, right? It was, we win this game, and then we're gonna see what the Lakers do later on that night.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
so that's why, like, it felt like a playoff game, right? It felt like we have to win this. If we don't win this, our season is done. Like, that's how I felt. Just the Lakers opponent that night, like I believe it was Phoenix.
I think so.
And Phoenix already had the number 1 seed wrapped up, so I was like, well, they're not going to play nobody. But I guess Phoenix just hates LA because they played everybody and they killed them. So like, so like going into that game, it was like, okay, if we handle business today, this could be wrapped up. And that's how I felt our guys played. Like our guys played like that. So that's what's like stood out to me all week. Like, yeah, it was the Denver game because of the situation. They balled out. Like, I was proud of our guys that we handled business early in the week. So this, even though we had a chance at the hosting the playing game, like I was just talking about earlier, but at least we're in 100% and we know it,
Yeah. And to be honest, like that's kind of where my head was at too. It's like, I didn't have the same feeling of like, our season is on the line tonight, because I did feel, that we were talking about that magic number getting down to 0 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I
It was
did
just
feel
the Lakers. I think they play like the Thunder. Like it was like after that Phoenix game, I feel like they could have won. So I was
yeah,
like, hey,
I get
this
you.
is the best chance today to handle this business.
I felt like the number was small enough that it was probably still time was going to run out on LA. But what like made me feel really good about it was just that like you said, getting it done early, but also like when the magic number was 4, we needed some combination of us winning and them losing. My in my head was like, you can't control what they do. I would love for us. I would love for, even if they keep winning, I would love for us to just win our 4 games. You know what I mean? Like, and have as much ownership in the goal as possible, right? So for us to close out a win against that team was the cherry on top was Phoenix beating LA, and then now the number 0, and we don't have to worry about it anymore. But to get over that hump of beating them and forcing that number down to 1 on our own was like what I was most excited about. Versus, like, let's say we lose to them, and the number's still at 2 for the night, and then LA still ends up losing and it goes down to 1, and it's fine. You're like, good, we still have another shot. But at the same time, it just felt way better to just do it ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it shows character. Like, yeah, like our guys came out and handled business. They knew they had to do it. They weren't relying on anybody else to get them in. And you could argue like you have all season to do this, blah blah blah. But like, there is still a sense of like, now this is what you have to do. Go, like, can you do it? And so, I'm not gonna toot my own horn a little bit, but I kept saying last week, like, hey, by April 5th, I'm pretty sure we're gonna know we're in. And sure enough, we won 2 in a row. Lakers lost 2 in a row. It was easy.
Yeah.
I was kind of on the boat. I believed in our guys, but I was kind of on the boat of like, I think the Lakers are just going to lose. Like, I don't think we have to worry that much. But like, to you guys' point, the Denver game was awesome. Everybody scored. I'm probably the biggest like person to have patience with Primo, but every time we have a game where everybody shoots well and the whole starting lineup is like at least 50% or above, Primo drops 3 points on 1 for 6 shooting.
Yeah.
He had 4 assists and 4 rebounds. He does it all. He was plus 18 on the game, that Denver game. But it's like, if you just look at the stats, everybody shoots well except for him and Lonnie. And it's like, I don't want Primo to be like in that Lonnie category of like, oh my God, like everybody.
He needs to be the number 1 or 2 option, or else.
Yeah, or else he's non-existent in the scoring. But I've told Jake this a couple times. I'm like, there'll be games where Primo will hit a couple shots and you're like, oh my God, like he's having a good game today. And then you look at the box score and he's 7 points, 2 assists, 2 rebounds, 30 minutes. And it's like, well, he had a good game. Like, he didn't do anything bad. He didn't do anything wrong. I will say this. He's been making a lot of bad turnovers, like bad entry passes, lazy passes.
It's lazy passes.
Yeah.
It's a lot of lazy passes.
And that he can't do that in the playing game. Like, it's just, I'm scared that he's going to be like what's the term? Like a shot rookie. You know what I mean? Like, he's not going to.
Yeah. Well, do you think, we can kind of push ahead right to the New Orleans game. Like,
So just because Juan was talking about like how Primo didn't shoot well. I do want to bring up the Golden State game now, because this was the game where Primo's a little bit more at the higher end of the option ladder, right?
I did see, like I said, I got to see like a little bit of the last 6 minutes, and he was making some nice plays.
And it's a thing to me where I tweeted it out last night. Like, in the clutch, I feel like I don't see him make those mistakes. Like, and this, I guess we can get this into the play-in talk in just a little bit. But yeah, in the clutch, when Josh needs to step up, when Primo needs to step up, I feel like he doesn't shy away from the moment. He does not shy away from the moment. And I wanted to make the soft Kobe comparison. I do not want to compare a young guy to one of the greatest of all time. But it's a thing of just like, I wonder if this is how Lakers fans felt when they saw their own baby Kobe go out there and just, brick a lot of shots, but you can see that potential's there. You can see where he's like, man, this guy can do some special things out there. And to me, it's like, I don't see a lot of mistakes other than what Juan was talking about with the careless turnovers and then just shots not falling right now. But with time, he'll get that efficiency. With time, you'll see him become that much of a better shooter and stuff. So to me, that Golden State game was like even more eye opening than this season with Primo has already been.
Yeah, and I don't have a lot to say about the Golden State game because we didn't really play like a lot of guys, and it's like hard to gauge like Primo and stuff or any like Josh Richardson because they're playing with a lot of like basically G League guys on their team, which was fine. It's cool for like development and all and like getting them experience. But I will say to Jake's point with the Primo point, I said the exact same thing. I'm watching the game with Victoria and we're sitting there and I was like, man, Primo's only got like 3 points, but it's like it's just him. It's just like Josh Richardson. I'm like, this is the opportunity. Trey Jones, like this is the opportunity for him to show like I can do something. I can be something. And I think like in the third quarter, he had only had like 3 points through the game. And I think he, like, I might be wrong, but once he hit that 3 to end the third quarter, I was like, that's it. Like, that's like part of the it factor to Jake's point. Like, I said the exact same thing. I was like, that's showing like he's got it in him. And then he hit another 3 to start the fourth. He hits like that mid-range shot with like that guy like all up under him. And it was big time. He was like bringing us back and with shot making. And I was just like,
he definitely looked. He was leading the charge.
Yeah, and so to Jake's point, he showed like a step, like he can be something else. And it's awesome. I know we fell short, but
but you fall short. You look at the thing though, and it's like literally Trey Jones led you in minutes, and Primo right behind him, 32 and 33 minutes. So like that was the head of the snake for the night was Trey Jones and Josh Primo. Like
plus a spark from Lonnie, like Lonnie with 24 off the bench, you're hoping that you get that usual Lonnie type of night when we have everybody else out there. But exactly like you're saying, like your three leading scorers are Trey Jones, Josh Primo, Lonnie Walker. So it's definitely not tells you that you don't have 4 other guys that can put up at least 15 and up on the night too. So it's definitely a thing to see that like we were able to come back on a Golden State team that still had Draymond Green, Andrew Wiggins, obviously a lot of people, Jordan Poole.
We held Jordan Poole to 3 of 19 shooting, and he's had a couple of good games like this last week or so.
Exactly.
That's what the Warriors announcers were saying, that this is his like worst shooting game in a long time. And if it wasn't for those free throws, man, he did. I forgot he did. He was like 100% from the line.
That looks so frustrating. I wasn't watching the game I couldn't hear it because I was we're just getting ready for the parade basically. So I was just trying to check in every now and then. But it's like every time I saw him, he was on the floor, like on the floor. Yeah, and then I would look, he's shooting free throws. Next time I look, he's on the floor.
Yeah,
repeat.
And it looked like he always was having like an attitude, like pushing our guys off of him, and like he was annoying me with like the stuff he was doing. I don't really care for stuff like that. Yeah, he's already crying and pushing off our guys, and then like he's flopping. He slipped on his own armband. I don't know if you saw that highlight.
I did see him turn the corner and fall, and then again it was like he's shooting free throws. Actually, when I looked real quick and I saw him on the ground,
that one.
yeah, I saw the I didn't get to see like what the ruling. I saw that the Spurs challenged. I didn't see like which way it went because I had to tune out. Like before the game ended, I had to tune out. But anyways.
Yeah, it was on that.
Falls over, they get free throws. Like it was.
And like when he slipped, he like put his head down, like he was like super frustrated. Her, I'm like, dude, you just fell over your own wristband. Like, what are you crying about?
Yeah,
it was definitely interesting to see a lot of Warriors Twitter talk about how like they were playing the Damian Lee guy over Moses Moody. I just wanted to bring up like those young guys in Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga because I mean like I liked what I saw from Jonathan Kuminga. Like he was obviously he was still getting punked out there for being like a baby. We would still have like a little plays where you could just tell that he was younger, but he's like a 6'8" guy who has a lot of size on him. And it was definitely thinking like, man, I really hope we get a guy that's that build once in the draft. Like I feel like that sold it even further that like I want this bigger forward type of guy that can be able to guard 1 through 4 and then maybe your small ball 5 kind of thing. And it was definitely just something to see from at least another side to look at like what the Warriors had and this young guy that they have on the come up. while also still having Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green to work with. So
Yeah, exactly.
But you know, we were just talking about Primo. I honestly don't think that there's too much to talk about for the rest of the regular season because we have this game against Dallas.
Yeah, we'll do our win loss at the end, and kind of talk about our predictions of what we thought at the beginning of the year, and we can throw Dallas in at that time. Sorry,
But
Dallas.
this is we're just gonna jump past Dallas and we're just gonna start talking about this playing game because we got New Orleans on Wednesday at 8:30, nationally televised game. Oh, that was one thing that made me laugh was how our game was nationally televised and no Steph, no DeJounte, no Klay Thompson.
Pop said everybody.
Yeah, and to be honest, like I know that it's not this because it's more of the end of the season and health, and we're locked into the play-in and all that. I know it's more of that, but it did make me laugh that it was like the Spurs get 0 national televised games all year, and so of course the one that we do get, Pop says, "Hell no, I'm not going to give you my starters. I'm sitting them all."
Yeah, it was pretty funny to see that.
And
See
when
that
it
play
comes to
out.
the point to close the game out, it was a close game, and you got Draymond on the other team and Jordan Poole, these other guys that the media kind of talks about, and we're running out Joe. And
Yeah, it's like I'm gonna make you think you're gonna have an easy night just still. And you know what? I really wanted to see the game for this one reason. I wanted to see were they still gonna only have the talking points on the Spurs about like what used to be the DeMar DeRozan, like you know what I mean? Like I wanted to know like is that how they're gonna still talk about us at the end of the year because they haven't seen us all year long? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like is their brain still way over there? But I was like Pop is like I'm not gonna make all these NBA TV guys job early like easy. You're gonna have to figure out who Joe Weiskamp is and talk about it for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
But like I said, we got this game against New Orleans. How confident are y'all feeling going into this game?
Super duper.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel pretty good.
All right. I think
Same.
I think I'm feeling pretty confident about it as well. I'll real quick. I'm gonna look at CJ McCollum's stats just because he's probably like the biggest factor for them. I mean Brandon Ingram as well.
Doesn't matter. We got the best player on either team.
We do. I feel like we do have the best player on both sides. But CJ.
Is that a Robert Horry jersey?
Oh.
CJ McCollum coming off of the trade has been averaging like 25 points on 49% shooting, and so it's definitely a thing that I don't think did CJ play against us on our second game.
Yeah, it was no Brandon Ingram. You talking about the one that we won recently?
Yeah.
No Brandon Ingram, but we did get 32 points from CJ and 23 from Jose Alvarado, and then also 18 from Valanciunas. Those are their leaders.
And it was definitely a thing of just like it was nice to see us get that win over New Orleans on like the revenge game type stuff, but they didn't have Brandon Ingram on that game. And it was a thing of like, well, I want to see how well we're going to do if they get a possible 30 points from CJ, 30 points from Brandon Ingram. And how do we go from there? You know what I mean? Like what do the Spurs do if we cannot stop CJ and Brandon Ingram from kind of cooking in this one game scenario? What do y'all think is our key? Like where do y'all see us being able to win this game against New Orleans?
You talk about Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum and that's great because those are two great players. But the only person that really scares me would be a freaking Valanciunas. Yeah. Like I feel like he always has good games against us, and against us he's always shooting really good. So if he's pulling Yak out towards that 3-point line, and then we have those guys, like that's pretty scary to me. But do I think that we can overcome that? Yeah. Like when I say I'm super confident, like I really am. I think that we match up pretty good against these guys. I feel like Keldon's going to have a big game, and I feel like Jakob's going to have a big game along with DeJounte. I feel like I don't mention DeJounte because I just feel like it's a given, and I know it's kind of bad to do that, but it's just how I feel about my guy, my point guard. But I think Valanciunas is going to be a big factor in this game.
Yeah, and to that point, Jakob, you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
mean, we've seen it all year of like when he's out of the lineup, we're not as good, but also like luckily we've had to deal with way less like Jakob is in foul trouble games over the course of this year as opposed to like last year. Um, and I don't know the numbers on that, but that's just what it felt like. But it's always like a threat, and it's always a something that you're afraid of. I mean, like yeah, if Yak sits with 2 early fouls, now Valanciunas is really doing damage. You know what I mean? I will say like so in the March 18th game that we lost, it's saying that Ingram didn't play also.
No.
But just in terms of their distribution of points, I mean, the guys that are scoring for you in that game, which we ended up losing, pretty handily by the end of it, Jackson Hayes gives you 16, Herb Jones gives you 13, Hernan Gomez gives you 11, Najee Marshall gives you 18, right? So it's like these are the other guys getting double digits, and that's 4 of them. You know what I mean? And I know that that's without Brandon Ingram, so a lot of that you can just slide over to him, right? And maybe the points look like that. Maybe they're putting up 124 on a bad day for us. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. Like I get what you're saying, but I'm also thinking like, are the Spurs gonna really try to shut down all of these other dudes? I don't want to see Jose Alvarado go off again like he did in that second game.
Yeah, so
And he's
think
also a
that's
talker for them. Go ahead.
yeah, he is. I think that second game is much more of like a game to look at. The first game you're talking about, that March 18th game, that's like a worst case scenario where that game was pretty much over before halftime. They had their bench units in like running up and down and like just extending the lead. Jake, I don't know, I don't remember like how like ballooned to, but I mean at the end of the first quarter we were down like 25 points.
Yeah.
That was that game. So
You're right. That's one of the, and that's probably what helped spark how we've been playing now. You know what I mean?
yeah, well, and Jake was at that game, so that's another reason why that game was so bad. But I think that's like worst case scenario. Our guys all show up and nobody's really got anything going. I think even DeJounte that game was he shot. I'm sorry here. Yeah, he was a negative 24 in the game. He only had 17 points. Like everybody had like a bad like game, and it kind of just gave up. I remember like Pop like not playing Keldon the second half of that game, but the next game was I think Valanciunas even getting like a couple of buckets, but it's like finding a way to stop him and get them out of the paint because they kill us on the rebounds. They get the inside presence, and to Josh's point, when Valanciunas hits that 3 ball a couple times, now Yak's out of there. Like now everybody's crashing the boards on us, and that's what scares me. I agree with Josh. I'm scared about Valanciunas more than I'm scared about like CJ McCollum or Brandon Ingram.
Yeah, like CJ, you got to worry about in the last 2 minutes of a game, kind of thing, or the last 4 minutes of a game, getting 4 or 5 possessions in a row where he's just ball handling and hitting shots from anywhere on the floor. Like that's when you really got to worry about CJ. I will say, if we go backwards a little bit more, February 12th, we ended up with a 10-point victory. And that's a game where you get 22 from Brandon Ingram, 36 from CJ McCollum, and 17 from Valanciunas. And then there's a big fall off for them. It was 13 for Herb Jones, and then it was 6 for Alvarado, 6 for Marshall, 6 for Clark. It's like nothing, right? So, maybe that's our approach, right? Is contain and really shut down a lot of these other guys.
In that game, DeJounte had 31 points, 7 rebounds, and 12 assists.
Yeah, exactly. But if you look at our distribution, though, it's like we also had 5 other guys in double figures. You know what I mean? And Josh Primo had 9 points too. So I mean, like, and Jakob had 7. So we almost had 7 people in double figures on top of that 31 for DJ. So I mean, I would love to see that DJ leading the charge. Good production across the board from everybody else. Let their people contain them as best you can and shut all those other role players down.
Yeah. So sorry, Jake. I'll just say this real quick. I got DeJounte's numbers up here for like the 4 games against the Pelicans this year. He's only averaging 18 points, 10 assists, and 9.8 rebounds. It's like I say only 18 because he only broke 20 points once, and it was that 31-point game. And so one of the games he's had 10 points, 17 points, 15 points. So it's like I think it's like in a way like to Jake's point, to you guys' point, like yeah, CJ, and you're scared CJ McCollum and Brandon Ingram can go off, but like as Spurs fans, it's like we can't forget we also have like an all-star like this guy. Like they negate each other. I think it is like what Chris is saying. Like it's everybody else. If you're letting one guy go off, you can't let the whole team get a rhythm. And I'd like to see it like the Denver game last week. If CJ or Brandon Ingram is going off, and like you gotta make sure everybody else is limited and stopped. Because I just think I believe DeJounte is going to show up in this game. I think he's got like an it factor, a dog in him that he's going to be the best player on the court. I don't think he's going to settle for anything less than that.
Mm-hmm.
And he should be rested. I mean, I hope that he's over whatever he had, but he's had, a couple days off.
It does make me feel better, the fact that like they designated him as he's just conditioning now and trying to get himself back into shape. Like that makes me feel better about it.
Yeah,
he looked good last night on the bench. He was up. He was clapping with the guys when Lonnie had that dunk. He jumped up and like he doesn't look. I mean, at least he's there. He's not at home.
I don't know if you guys saw the tweet. I think I don't remember who on Spurs Twitter had tweeted it out, but DeJounte like posted the picture of him in his Mariners and stuff like that. But then it was like I think it was either liked by or something like that, and it was like liked by Paulo and liked by Zach LaVine. Yeah. It was just like I like where this is going, and I'm like, yeah, me too, man. If we get Paulo in the draft, then we sign Zach LaVine in the summer. It's over. It's over for the league.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Seattle boys unite in San Antonio. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, no. Before we even think about the offseason, we still got this playing game because we're trying to make the playoffs. We're trying to push in for that playoff seed. And
and speaking to like we're pushing for the playoffs and what Juan was saying about like DJ's gonna come in ready. It's like I'm excited because the last time we were in this position a year ago, like we had to sit and watch all of our guys look dejected as hell and talk about like, I'm tired of missing the playoffs. I don't want this anymore. Right. So then you get to the next year at the beginning of the year, and it was very clear. They said like, we want to win. We want to make the playoffs. That's what they said at the beginning of the year. Right. And then that message has been consistent all year long. So like we've played more focused ball when we had a goal. And the goal, like, this is it, right? This is what you played for, and this is it. So, like, I'm just like, I'm more excited than I am, like, nervous or anything like that. Like, there's not a lot of expectations for us. Nobody cares about what we do. So it's like, let's just go in and knock Brandon Ingram off the board first. Then we'll go on to Minnesota or LA, and we'll try it there. And then you know what I mean? Like, I'm ready for it.
And Juan had definitely talked about this stuff over like the last like week, talking about how like our guys have just been on a roll like this last stretch of games, and it's like perfect timing kind of thing. Because I want to bring that up. We could potentially be ending the season on a 3-game losing streak, but our guys have still been able to kind of shoot at a very decent rate. And so like over the last 5 games, Devin Vassell's been putting up 17, 4, and 2 on 48% shooting, but 45% from 3. And that's definitely a thing for me where I'm like seeing him being able to knock down these threes at a very solid rate is definitely like a thing it's a good thing to see whenever I've been the person that said that like Devin's streakiness comes in stretches where he shoots good for a couple games, shoots bad for a couple games, shoots good for a couple games, and we'll flip-flop from there. So to see that he's on this stretch right now where he's shooting at a good rate, it's definitely something to be excited for. And then Trey Jones, especially in this extended amount of play in the last 5, has been putting 14, 4, and 8 on 50% shooting as well. But then the cool thing right now is that he's 37% from 3, whereas like I think like on the season he's a 17% 3-point shooter. So
and what I love about that is like whereas it felt like with like a guy like LA or somebody who, or even DeMar a little bit, where it was like we know that we want to get you to take some threes. It felt like we were gonna have to wait till the offseason to do that, and Trey is just like, well, I'm just gonna start shooting them now, and he just like has been doing it. So like, you just got to support your guy and wait for those numbers to go up. And 37 is not bad, you know what I mean? So,
real quick, our friend Richard Harwan asked us who we got tonight. So I will say that, like, if we win this game, it's fine. If we lose this game, then it pretty much guarantees that we're still staying in like the 9th spot on the lottery. So if we don't make the play-in, we're still having this cushion of having the 9th best odds in the lottery. I don't know what you guys have to say about that, but he also said go math. So
I think it said that if we win, our like our chance of the number 1 seed goes from like 20% to 13%, right, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm probably this would probably be the only time I ever say like I don't care what happens. Like if we lose, we lose. Like I don't mind. I don't mind today.
The whole point in the standings is that if we win and Washington loses, then like Josh said, our 20% chance at getting I think top 4 might be top 1. Our 20% chance at getting a pick like that.
I think it's top 4 pick.
I want to say it's top 4.
Yeah.
Our 20% chance at getting a top 4 pick drops down to 13%. And I know all of us have talked about how we don't care for the numbers like that in the lottery, that it's just kind of things like that. But in a 1-game scenario, we know we have the play-in locked in. I'm okay with keeping the 20% chance.
That's the only
13.
reason, because it's not going to affect our play-in at all, like, or our seeding. So, oh well.
Yeah.
I just it's like, yeah, like that makes the most sense. But then, like, what do? Do you go tell your guys like you're not playing tonight because we need to lose, or you just stop playing guys like in the second half and you're like,
well, I feel like Pop is gonna not.
You get a night off.
There are gonna be people sitting. Yeah, I think people are gonna be.
Okay,
sitting.
You know what? This is, and you don't word it like that, but you word it as we're worried about Wednesday, not today. So you're not playing.
Well, and also, like, you know, you don't view it as the way that other people view it, in the sense of you're not resting players in the tank fashion. We're resting players in the we have to keep playing basketball. You know what I mean? The same way that like a Phoenix Suns would rest somebody at a time like this. You know what I mean? So like it's just a little different. And even though we are on the very outskirts of that play-in talk, we still are a play-in team. You know what I mean? So we do have goals that are continuing on beyond this week, or beyond the end of the regular season. So like it's just slightly different. It's not the same, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of funny that, like, we are probably pretty much all on that same wavelength on how we feel about going into today's game. I think that's why we tried to skip over it a little bit, but appreciate you, Richard.
Is Luka gonna play tonight? Like, I mean, I know that he's available to play tonight, but
I don't think so, right? Because Golden State won. Then they're pretty much
they're kind of locked into their spot. Yeah. So
yeah,
you know, who cares? It'll be a bench on bench game. Now I'll say this though. If it's like our bench versus their bench, I don't care if we win. It's not going to hurt my feelings. So I'm just going to say that.
Exactly.
And if I'm watching the game, I'm not going to be sitting here like.
I'm not rude. I'm not going to root to lose.
Yeah.
But
Exactly. If I didn't care though, like if I didn't care about winning, I would just not watch the game. I would just wait for Wednesday.
So Juan's buddy PJ said that Luka got a tech, and no, remember that it got rescinded.
They rescinded it. Yeah.
So Luka's tech does not count anymore, and then it doesn't even matter because the techs get reset at the start of the playoffs anyway. But PJ also brought this question to us: if we could only re-sign Jay Rich or Lonnie, who would we pick?
Okay, so
and
I'm
Josh,
gonna say this. I have no idea why this is even a question. Isn't Jay Rich on the team next year?
Yeah, we have him for $12 million next year. And I think it's confusing a lot of people, because I seen a lot of people say this too, like on Twitter, and I'm like, well, he's on the team no matter. And they were saying, a lot of people were saying that, oh, we got to give Jay Rich the bag and let Lonnie walk. And I'm like, well, we could sign both of them and have both of them next year.
Yeah, I think people just see them as like their minutes overlap kind of thing, and like, are they going to be stepping on each other's toes? Like, I think that's kind of the
no. Yeah, I that's exactly what Chris is saying, is like I think it's more of a positional thing, because we're gonna have draft picks, we're gonna be adding more guys to the roster. I hope that we're not adding more guards, but
exactly.
if it does kind of come into that play, like there's there already is an abundance of guys at the same position where we're at right now. And so, yeah, it does come into question. It might not come into question this next year. Maybe we do re-sign Lonnie for the next 3 years, and then we are just having Jay Rich for next year. But what if Josh Richardson does come in next year and he's still doing what he is, and we're still, in a sense, we're still getting the exact same players that we're getting next year. But now we do have to re-sign Josh Richardson, and then maybe we have to move Lonnie's money because we're re-signing Josh Richardson.
I say if you build a good relationship with him, you could probably get Richardson for a decent deal for a decent amount of years. You know what I mean? Give him job security, give him a place that he likes to be in, apparently, and a place that he's producing. Maybe you move him to that six-man role, and it's a little bit more clearly defined or whatever, and you go from there.
I think you have to sign both. I think in a perfect world, because I hope that we do not draft another guard.
To answer his question though, if you had to pick one, I would go Lonnie because of the age. Like
I would go Lonnie because you have Devin Vassell.
Yeah, I would go Lonnie as well. But I've talked about this. Like I was like, man, Josh Richardson has fit perfect. I think we all have. Like he just came over here and fit perfect. So to me, in a perfect world, if we were to get rid of Dougie, I would just give Dougie's money to Lonnie.
Exactly.
I would give Dougie's money to Lonnie and then draft somebody to.
No, that was my answer. That was my cheating answer to his question, which is if you could pick, I would keep both of them and get rid of Doug. Like I feel like
that's what
Richardson could just take Doug's spot and it would be totally fine.
Yeah.
But I'm curious what Jay Rich, because that is a pretty good like comparison. Those guys, they're both like spark plugs. Like, so I wonder what Jay Rich looked like at Lonnie's age. I wonder if they look the same, like.
Second round draft pick.
He did bounce around, right? Because
Jake would know because that was his team. Jake,
he got drafted to Miami, or what?
Miami, right? So Jake could speak on that a little bit.
Go ahead.
Yeah, man. Josh Richardson, he was a second round draft pick, and so it was. No, I kind of know, man. I was paying attention. I was paying attention to the Dion Waiter led Heat, and Josh Richardson was a part of that. So. It was a thing.
Wait, if you were paying attention back then, like you are a Heat fan. That's ridiculous.
I'm not, because
those are dark days.
God,
man.
No, man, that was after the fact of like we had just cooked LeBron and everybody was already out. I like Dwayne Wade.
You have a little bit more sympathy for somebody after you like smack around on them a little bit.
And so they just, I don't know, man. I remember seeing, I think it might have been 2017 or 2018, but like. Literally, there's like the one game where Dion Waiters like actually like beat the freaking Golden State Warriors, and everybody was like so surprised, and it was a thing that like
back to this discussion with Lonnie.
Josh Richardson has like been good for like he was very consistent, did his thing, but then he lost that consistency once he got traded from Miami. That's what I was going to try to say. It's like
because he bounced around to what, Boston or Dallas? Which one?
So he went
Dallas
from
to Boston.
So he went from Miami, got traded to Philly in the Jimmy Butler trade, then traded from Philly to Dallas, Dallas to Boston, and now Boston to San Antonio.
Which it's crazy because like the way that the league is, like you want these 3-and-D guys. I guess maybe that's why everybody wanted Josh Richardson. That's why they keep trading for him. But as far as this question goes, I would go Lonnie because I feel like Lonnie has more of like a 6-man impact, just scoring wise. I know Josh's like numbers are like they're up there because of his 3-point shooting. He's shooting so well, but
he's on fire this year too.
Yeah, I think you got a 3-and-D guy in Devin Vassell. So if you're gonna have to like, if you're trying to like put a guy and somebody's gonna walk, maybe you stay like that. But I would choose Lonnie, but also like we said. I would cheat and just get rid of Doug. And I said this like a month ago. I felt so bad for Doug as soon as he rolled his ankle. I was like,
same.
I think he's done. Like I don't see him coming back now because we found a replacement in that role.
Yeah, we did.
And especially with the defense that Josh Richardson adds, Josh Richardson adds,
and his shots are like so timely in the sense that they just feel like veteran moves when he makes them, right? And so you just immediately see exactly where you want to slot that guy, right? And it's paid dividends. Like there's been many times where a game will get slightly away from us and then it gets away from us. And this year, we talk the Pop has said it. A lot of the players have said it. A lot of the analysts have said it. Like, man, our guys don't stop fighting. They fight to the end. it's because of shots like that Richardson makes that keeps a game from going from a 10-point game to a 15-point game. Instead, it goes from a 10-point game to like a 6-point game, or a 12-point game to an 8-point game. And it's like, those are the things that keep us in, man. So like he's just been so valuable.
Mm-hmm. All right, and so then I'll put it into this type of a thing, because I do want to like force y'all out of this like cheating question or cheating the answer. So hypothetically, we draft another power forward. We're able to get our Paulo or
Better
Keegan
not be
Murray,
hypothetically. We better
anybody,
draft a
right?
power forward.
We get we get this power forward. It moves Keldon up and it moves Devin up, which brings Josh Primo back. And so now we're having Trey Jones, Josh Primo, Lonnie Walker, Josh Richardson as our bench, with not a lot of size like that. Like at that point, you kind of do have to make a decision, right?
Me personally, to answer your question, I feel like it's kind of the question that Juan said earlier about like, how many times is KJ gonna find himself being the best man on the floor on a given night, right? And in those games, you want to see what does he do, right? So, in my opinion, Devin Vassell is the same kind of way. Like he hasn't had that many opportunities where he just needs to be the guy. And in those times that it has come, he hasn't done it yet. You know what I mean? And he's so young. We have time with him, right? That being said, I don't feel bad about putting him down and moving him down to that second lineup. He's our size he plays the KJ role at the 3. You know what I mean? So like if you had you keep Jay Rich around, you get DJ, you get sorry, you like you said, you get the power forward, you moved KJ down to the 3. Who would you start at your 2?
That's why I was saying, like, to me it was because you have right now the starting lineup is Josh Primo, Devin Vassell, like that, and so then it was either keep Josh in the starting lineup, or
I would have Lonnie and Jay Rich as my shooting guards, and it's like, okay, one of you guys is going to be the spark plug. To be honest, Richardson is a little bit more versatile. In the sense of like, hey, we want you to come off the bench. Cool. Hey, we want you to start. Cool. Right. So like, maybe you start him. Because you really like Lonnie as that 6-man punch or whatever.
I said that a couple weeks ago. I would start Josh Richardson at the 2. I did say that, and I would have Lonnie as our 6-man.
Yeah, put Devin Vassell as your secondary small forward.
Still puts you
power forward at the 4.
That's still that's what I'm saying. It still puts you in a like an abundance in that position, because you still have Trey Jones, who's your point guard, your backup point guard.
I told you
Primo.
this. I think we talked about this too, of everybody who got made expendable. It was Trey Jones with the draft of Primo. And I still feel like even though he's played better, even though he's playing really good, I feel like that situation has not changed. If Josh Primo is your point guard going forward, or your I know Juan called him like an off guard, or because he does a lot of different things, or however you worded it, I still think it's Trey Jones that's left out of that scenario.
I think eventually, once you see his point guard skills start to, blossom or whatever, and you get rid of those passing turnovers and those kind of things, I think that you will see him slotted into that spot.
To me, though, why would we try to make Josh Primo play the backup point guard when we know we have our point guard? Like Josh Primo, I feel like that's putting him in a position where he's not gonna like develop all the way that he could.
Well, but eventually, and right now we're specifically talking about how Richardson creates a little bit of a logjam, or if you're trying to prioritize him or whatever, or keep him around. At that point, though, after a couple more years, now your veteran leadership is coming from Keldon Johnson, from DeJounte Murray, so you don't need a guy like Richardson anymore. You know what I mean? His role gets diminished over the course of the next 3 to 4 years. Whereas right now he's at his highest usage rate right now for us. And so as Primo's coming up, it just,
So then, we put Primo at that 2 position, but then now we don't have a backup point guard when we could have had this backup point guard with us for this entire time. When we could have had this guy that was leading the charge.
Would you take a backup point guard with Primo's upside or Trey Jones' upside?
I'm saying that if anything, I would rather just keep Primo trying. Like, yes, Primo can learn how to be a point guard and stuff, but I'd rather keep Primo in the 2-3 position so that eventually he gets put into a starting role, rather than seeing us put him in a backup role then throw him into the
No,
2,
I think
and then
I
us
think
need to
that
have to
If
fill in
if
that
he's
backup
gonna
role
get if
again.
he's gonna get a starting role, it's gonna be at the 2.
yeah, no, and I think that exactly what y'all wanted Derek White to be is exactly what Josh Primo. Josh Primo is going to be better than Derek White was. How we played him, and how y'all viewed Derek White. Like he started at the 2, and then DeJounte sat, and then he was the 1.
Right.
Like that's
I
going to
know.
be Primo.
I get that, but I'm saying that like why would we like make Trey expendable? Why would we push Trey out of here when we know that we're still going to need to fill in that position a couple years later?
Well, no.
Because we
I
could
think
just fill the position with him now
I think
and keep it like that.
it's just like right now when we do currently have the logjam, Trey is the one that gets pushed down. You know what I'm saying?
Nobody said trade him or cut
Yeah,
him.
yeah. It's just,
Yeah.
but again, as if
You're too emotional about Trey Jones. I know you love defending him, and
it's
you
just
love
the idea of
expendable doesn't mean throw him to the curb. It just means his minutes are expendable. Like just put him at the
yeah,
bottom.
yeah, exactly. He's just lower on the depth chart, and that's okay for a guy like him. I mean, his ceiling is a backup point guard. You know what I'm saying? So you continue to keep him around. You develop his skills. You give him a place to be, and then again, as these next 3 to 4 years kind of roll along, roles are starting to you take roles away from. You take things away from our veterans, right? Which at this point is literally only Doug and Richardson.
And
I'll just say this:
see how extremely valuable Trey Jones could still be extremely valuable, like that far down because of everything that happened this year with injuries.
We had a guy
happened with DeJounte blew his
we had a need.
out,
We had a need. We had a need for
and
him.
then we
had a guy like Trey Lyles. We had a guy like Trey Lyles who we signed, put him in a role position. You know, obviously he was starting whatever, but put him in a role position. Then next year he gets completely put out of the rotation, and now he doesn't want to be in San Antonio anymore. Now he doesn't want to,
You're saying that could happen where we could come to a spot where Trey doesn't want to be around anymore. Maybe that happens. That happens.
Did you listen to Chris's scenario where it's like you play Primo this year, but then like in a couple years when you don't have to re-sign Josh Richardson because everybody's older and then you slide everybody right back down, and now Trey just steps right back into that role again?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why it's the thing of like, well, then do we re-sign Josh Richardson? That's why I put this scenario out there so that
we said no.
Well, no. Everybody was trying to do this cheat answer by saying you're going to sign both and let go of Doug.
Well, yeah,
but I don't think that fixes the problem.
No, but what you do is you sign Lonnie to the big deal, you sign Richardson to the small deal, and then eventually Richardson goes out.
Okay, well, first, Jake, what is your answer in this scenario?
My answer is Lonnie. My answer is we keep Lonnie and we just let Josh walk, or we do, like, if we trade him next offseason, then we do, right? Because, yeah, it keeps the logjam from happening in total. You know, like, if I get what you're saying with the Doug stuff, but if we're building size and we're not, we're moving away from the direction of playing a guy like Doug or Josh at the 4, then that prevents a logjam from happening. We just move on from the scenario. Like, Josh Richardson was great for us, and I think we could still get value out of him by trading him for a potential first-round pick. But I think that's where that leads to, instead of just re-signing, or in this scenario too, we just let Lonnie walk and re-sign Josh Richardson. And I would still say just go with Lonnie because of the age, because of what he can still bring as a 6-man. But it's the thing of just like, I don't think there is a scenario where we can sign both of them because it creates this other problem.
I mean, I would just say if you're putting them to comparable years, you want to have both of them on your team for the next 5 years. Yeah, you're going to create issues with your depth chart. But if they're staggered a little bit, you get Lonnie for a bigger deal, you get Richardson for a smaller deal. Maybe it is a thing of like you get him for an additional 2 years on top of him being on our team for the next year. You're going to have him next year, and then everything after that becomes now he's a tradable piece with a decent contract that we constructed for him, and so on and so forth, or whatever.
Well, I think the logjam happens next year. I think that's where, like, it starts, the depth chart starts to get, you're trying to struggle to figure out where you can get these guys time and all this stuff.
Trey Jones is gonna be a third string point guard for parts of next year. That's fine. It doesn't
But
have
it's
to
not
be.
fine for Jacob. That's what he's
It
trying to
doesn't.
tell
It
you.
No,
doesn't.
I'm
We don't
saying
have. I don't think we have to prioritize moving Trey Jones. Well, there's many more things that we have to do on our roster than and prioritizing moving him up in the depth chart is lower on that list.
I
Well-
think Primo gets bumped out of the starting lineup next year regardless because he was there for injury replacements this year and kind of like the size like needs. But if we get a true four, and you move Keldon up, and even if you don't start Devin at the 2, it's going to be Devin or Josh Richardson, like some sort of 3-and-D guy there. I don't think they're going to put a point guard like next to DeJounte again. And what if
Because we
Primo
did
grows?
try it.
Yeah. But what if Primo grows and now he's 6'7", 6'8", and now you now you can run him next to like a Trey, and they could both still be guards, but like now Primo's a defensive switching like on anybody or whatever the case. But like now you can run Primo, Lonnie, and Trey like all together.
Or there's a
Then
scenario
where's
where,
Devin getting played at?
or there's a scenario
He
where
said he's going to start.
Primo
No,
still
he said
kind
Josh
of.
Richardson will start.
There could be a scenario
either
where
one.
Primo still has growing pains as a point guard, and so you need to sit him for a second and get a guy like Trey out there to steady your offense, to show Primo the way a little bit. Like there's a use for Trey Jones on our team next year, even as he's lower on the depth chart. You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
Okay.
look at Keldon and Devin. Their second years. Like Devin didn't blow us away this year. He didn't like do like what some of these other players do and just blow. Primo probably will be on the same path next year. Like he's going to show more signs, but he's not going to be perfect. He's not going to be the saving player yet.
Yeah. So Richardson becomes that stopgap to really let Devin. To be honest, in my opinion,
Trey.
he's there. Like KJ has taken his own step, right? KJ, and I love the things we've seen from Keldon. Devin is the next one in line of who we want to see that. Lonnie too, but Lonnie kind of is living in his own, like he's kind of managing that 6-man role, and we've seen good things from him this year, right? Devin, we're looking for it. Richardson kind of fills that gap right now. You know what I mean? So let's say you want to see a fully fleshed out Devin Vassell attack in the next 3 years. Richardson is that stopgap, and again, you just feel this happening. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Okay. Well, I hope that discussion did give you like what you were looking for, PJ. Shout out to PJ for asking this question. I'll put this one up real quick. We don't have to talk about it nearly as much, but what should we do with our picks this year? Should we try to trade them all for a player to with the player to get number one if they aren't in our favor? We kind of have talked about this before. I'm of the personal sense that depending on how the picks fall, there really shouldn't be too much that we should be looking forward to in terms of trading up, unless it's literally we saw Keegan Murray drop and now we're just trading 3 picks to get up to him or something like that,
Yeah, I would definitely say go back and watch. I think it was 2 episodes ago maybe where we kind of went into this exact thing and for a while.
Yeah.
Felt like a while, right?
But to kind of tie both of these points in, if you're in fear that there's a log jam, then your best bet is to trade up and get only one player. So
and not draft so many new players, right?
Yeah, because then you have to just let people walk. Like Lonnie has to go, and you have to get all these roster spots, and then you're going to want to play them because they're all going to be talent and first rounders. And so I think the best bet is to package him, trade Doug. I kind of threw this into the group to our little chat this last week, and it's a little blasphemy, but I had said what if we trade Jakob and we try to go after DeAndre Ayton? Now, it doesn't have to be Jakob, but in the sense of a log jam, you got Primo or whatever like this. What if you trade Yak and your picks and you move up and you get your true 4 that you can get one of those top guys? Or what if you trade Devin and those picks and you get one of those true 4 guys? Then it naturally will open up everything while complementing the team and getting a top end talent. That's the only scenario. I don't like it, and I know I said it like we said a couple of weeks ago on the drafting. I don't want to trade these guys, but as we get closer to free agency and the draft, I'm thinking if you sign DeAndre Ayton to the max deal and you add a 4, obviously you're not going to need Jakob. So you trade Jakob.
So in your scenario,
if you
What would
trade
you
Devin
what,
Vassell and you sign Zach LaVine, like you're not going to pay Devin Vassell anyways if you have Zach LaVine.
what would you rather do, or who would you rather get rid of, Yak or Devin?
Yak, I think Yak because I personally get frustrated when we throw the ball down to him in the post and nothing happens out of it, and he does like a funky little like spin move hook shot that clanks off the iron.
Yak's value is also most definitely higher than Devin's at the moment. Like, yes, like Devin's potential is there, but we know what Yak brings to the table.
Why is Yak's value so high right now?
Like, we know what Yak brings to the table in comparison to like the potential that Devin Vassell brings, and Yak's contract is very serviceable. Like, it's a thing that's
But
that
Devin's
for
not
other
making
people.
Devin is making scraps. That's
Not
Right.
really,
No, I get that, but I'm saying that like a team could trade for the like however much money that Jakob is getting and not have to move off of too much, and still have like a lot of cap flexibility to work to contend. Whereas like you're not trading for Devin Vassell to contend
because he's a top 5 center on a team friendly contract, right? And so it's like from that point of view, why the heck would you want to trade that away?
Because you're technically trading him away because you're getting another guy who should technically be another top 5 center in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That thing would have to be like a guarantee. You know what I mean? Like, are you trading him to Phoenix or are you trading him to sign? You know what I mean? Which is probably that's the route, right? Because he's in Aiton's going to free agency or whatever. Yeah. But I don't know that kind of stuff. Like, I definitely wouldn't play with fire and wind up in a scenario where you have no Jakob and no center, no DeAndre Ayton.
I don't think we're making that trade until we get the DeAndre Ayton on our team, until we know this is a done deal.
Like I will say this, that like Ayton would probably be the one person that I would like not lose my mind over if we lost Jakob Poeltl. Like that guy is just so valuable to us.
And that's kind of like how I see things too. I'm not trading Jakob away to sign like Montrez, like
or even like a not Valanciunas, or even like a Valanciunas or like a Vucevic or something, or like a who just went to Sacramento.
Sabonis.
Oh, Sabonis.
Like that. Like that's not good enough for me. Ayton, and to be honest, Ayton, I'm not sold on Ayton just yet either. You know what I mean? And I know he's
a baby too.
So show me another deep playoff run, DeAndre, and then we'll talk.
The way I saw like the Phoenix close out the Lakers, and he was grabbing all the boards. And the Lakers didn't have a lot of size out there, but that's kind of like why to me I was like, well, perfect. He's taking advantage of all these like smaller teams.
He did play against LA while they had Anthony Davis and Dwight Howard or one of their other bigs out on the court at the same time, and that was the game, because Juan, you posted that you posted that question in our group chat, and I was like, nah, I was literally about to go to sleep, and now I got to turn this Suns game on and watch DeAndre Ayton play because I knew they were playing against the Lakers, and I knew like, well, this is a team to watch because they have size, so let's see how he does, So he played well. He played well. I'm not crapping on DeAndre Ayton. He's a number 1 pick. He just went to the NBA Finals. Like he's got a lot of stuff ahead of him, which is awesome.
He moves like up and down like pretty well. And he was flying and catching oops, and obviously, like we don't throw oops or stuff like that.
Remember?
Yes, we do.
Did they compare him?
Yes,
they compared him to David, like at one like.
Yes, we do. Who do we throw lobs to? We just threw it to Jakob Poeltl, my friend.
For the first time in his career.
There was David Robinson comparisons for him coming out of the draft, and then he was like matching Tim Duncan, like the youngest, like big man, or like he was like youngest player with like double doubles and like.
Yeah.
All I need is, to be honest, all I need to be convinced is for somebody to show me like a nice, good little reel of him of defense, DeAndre Ayton defensive highlight reel, and then you'll probably get me.
And I'll say this. Go ahead, Juan.
I was gonna say, I agree with that, Chris, but like if in my scenario, it's like if you get that 4, now your size is both at the 4 and the 5. And
I mean, and it's not going to look exactly like Jakob Poeltl because like the makeup's going to be different, the roster makeup's going to be different. I don't need him to be that, but I do need to feel like we have
an anchor,
an anchor, exactly. And there's responsibilities that. Oh man, you know what? I'm so glad that I just like you. There's this article that came out, and it was an interview with Jakob Poeltl.
Right. So while he's looking at that,
and so he well I won't spend too long on it, but he was just talking about like how what his roles are as a center, right? Let me see. I'm going to read like one little quote. He says, "In my first couple of years, I was definitely more quiet, partially because I was still trying to figure it out myself. Also, I was still trying to find my role. But over the years, I've learned sometimes you just got to be loud, be that defensive anchor, especially for a center. Tell your defense where to be, where the help side is, where to send guys. It really is constant communication out there, and a lot of it comes to me being the last line of defense, right? And like that is how I see a center position too. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of how I view it. So like those are the things that I know that Jakob brings to us. And so those are the things that I would need to know that DeAndre Ayton A is doing that right now for Phoenix, and B will bring that to us. You know what I mean?
right?
That is what would make me feel comfortable getting rid of a guy like Pirtle.
And to me, the thing that like sells me is how obviously I think we all agree that like Yak is pretty much top 2 defensive center in the league, right? I would say that like the only person ahead of Jakob is Rudy Gobert. But while you're like losing,
not Embiid.
I mean, yeah, Embiid's good. Embiid's really good. I'm not saying that he's not bad, but like he's probably number 3, whereas Yak and Rudy Gobert, you're 2 and 1 right there. Because that's what I'm saying. Is like Yak is your defensive specialist. He is a guy who works on defense through in and throughout. You're trading off that defense in order to get a guy who could like be a top 5 offensive center in the league.
Yeah,
you know?
but also you're hoping for natural progression of all of your guards, of all of your forwards. You're hoping to, have cap space to sign somebody. I feel like that's enough increase of offensive production right there, where you don't need to dump the ball into Jakob as much, not even to say that, but I guess what I'm trying to say is you just don't need to rely on his offensive production to win you games or to keep you in games.
Yeah.
You just enough to keep the defense honest, and then again, he's your defensive anchor. So like, I get what you're saying about like how of all the upgrades on the offensive end that Ayton would be over Pirtle. I just feel like we are already on the path to expect that from a lot of our other guys anyway. You know what I mean? If we come in and now our offensive production is going through DeJounte Murray and DeAndre Ayton, what does that do to a guy like to a guy like Vassell? You know what I mean? Does Vassell not feel the need to take that big step in his 3rd year? Because you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I like the makeup of our team right now. I feel like our biggest hole is in the power forward position, and I don't think that DeAndre Ayton fills that hole. We would have to make a new hole for him to fill, if that makes sense. So.
Well, my scenario was you would trade Jakob 3 first-round picks and get into the top 5
and get that power forward. Yeah. I guess what I'm trying to say is just like, I feel like we don't need to make that move. You know what I mean? It's like we could upgrade our power forward through the draft with our 3 picks, and yeah, I get what you're saying. Is like you only get into that high thing if you give up somebody, and in this case, you give up Yak, which is a bad thing, but your prize is the power forward and DeAndre. I get what you're saying.
And it's the same scenario with Devin Vassell. If you give up Devin, then maybe you can go out there and get a guard for $30 million like Zach LaVine, and because you get a chance to win with young talent, that's not getting paid much right now, and add like a max guy, and so that's kind of just like the thing. I'm leaning towards that. I'm not saying that I would definitely do it, but that's where I'm like going to as the year gets like closer to the end.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Well, once again, shout out PJ for bringing these 2 discussion questions to the table. But guys, we have our. I don't want to say that it's our last weekly prediction. I don't want to say that it's our last weekly prediction, but we have our close to last weekly prediction on the week. Juan, what is your reasoning?
It's the last one for the regular season.
Right, last one for the regular season. Juan, what's your reasoning for saying 3-0?
Because I think we're gonna win tonight against the Mavericks. Because I'm here in Fort Worth, and I'm gonna yell around "Go Spurs, go" for I don't know 4 hours straight.
You going to the game?
I was thinking about it. I'm still thinking about going to the game. That's the only reason why.
I would definitely do it. I would go.
That's the only reason why you guys are all talking about I don't think we're gonna try and win tonight. And I was just like, dang, I guess I'm not going to this game.
But
3-0 because I'm saying we'll win against the Mavericks. Then we got this playing game on Wednesday. I think we beat the Pelicans, and I think the basketball gods reward us and punish the Timberwolves, and I think we knock off the Timberwolves in the playing game. I don't know how well the Clippers are playing or whatever. I don't really know if it's like plausible that the Timberwolves down, but I think we're gonna win against the Pelicans, and I feel like we have a really great shot of beating either the Timberwolves or the Clippers as well.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Josh, because I know you have the exact same answer. Why are you going 3-0?
Because everything Juan said, that's why.
Yep. Chris, do you have a change in opinion?
I mean, I can't say. Well, I don't really know if we're gonna beat the Mavericks tonight. You know what I mean? Like,
When our
I've
starting
kinda-
lineup
I've-
is K-Cock and Wieskamp and
yeah, exactly right. So if
The
we
G
go,
League,
if we,
Caleb
but I-
Johnson.
so I will say like, if we beat the Mavericks tonight, that's great. You know what I mean? It's hard to tell because who knows what kind of lineups are going to be out there for both teams. And on top of it, like we don't have anything to play for in terms of our seedings. Like you had mentioned about the odds and all that kind of stuff, but I don't really care about that. So I don't know. Sure, I'll say 3-0. I'll say 3-0 for the weekend. I will say though, like Jake. Well, let me hear Jake's word. Let me hear Jake's first.
All right. I mean, it's pretty simple that I say 2-1 because this Dallas game and this Dallas game alone. Because and honestly, it doesn't even matter if we lose this game, and I'm saying that we're gonna win the other two games because then we'll go to 15 instead of being at the 9 spot.
That's why I don't understand any of the talk because you're trying to get the number 1 pick. You're trying to make the playoffs. So
of course.
Yeah.
Of course, you're trying to make the playoffs, but there's always this cushion. There's always this thing of like, at this point, we know we're in the playoffs. We know we're in the play-in. We know that we're trying to do what we can. Sometimes things don't roll the way that you want them to roll. So this it's just a thing of just like, yeah, if it doesn't roll the way that we want, well then I'd rather us just in this one game scenario where it's not affecting our like the legacies of players or anything like that, like affecting our morale or anything. If we lose this one game of the season, we're keeping that 20% chance rather than having this 13% chance if we lose in the play-ins. So that's literally the only like it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I finally agree with a team tank way of looking at it because it's just more beneficial to have 20% over 13%.
And also it's not hurting the other goal, which is to make the play in. I will say though, Jake, like if we were to win tonight, we would get to 35 wins on the season. That would only be one win off of your prediction. You had us at 36.
Did I have us at 36?
Yeah, I just 33 or 34, right?
No, I just watched it. Oh no, I think you did say 34.
Yeah, he said 34.
I said 34.
Yeah, you did say
34. Yeah,
you're right.
And
yeah, Josh was on the high end, like 40 to 44. I think 44 was like the top of his range. Me and Juan were both at like 40 wins, I think.
And I still think we would have got there if we didn't get hurt and COVID.
Okay, so I'm glad you guys brought that up because our expected win-loss on the season is 41-40. That's like what we should have been. Like all the analytics, we lost so many games that like you usually just don't win. And then I don't know, we had a 8-game stretch where we started Drew Eubanks. He's on the Portland Trailblazers. He was getting 10-day contracts. They didn't want to sign
a 40-day contract.
Yeah. Like there was a stretch of the season where we had like bodies out. We started Keita. I don't know if we started Keita and Drew at the same time. But it was like there were stretches where we were kind of struggling with lineups, and my prediction on the season was 40-42, and our expected win loss is 41-40. I know our actual record. What did Jake say? 33, 34?
Yeah, he said 30. He said 33, 34. I really do think that if we were healthy, and I know Jake said that he predicted COVID or he predicted whatever the hell he predicted, but that's ridiculous to me. Like if we were healthy, I think when you make your predictions, like I bet you the Lakers didn't say, you know what, we're going to miss the playoffs because we're predicting Anthony Davis to be hurt all the time. Like no, they're predicting they're going to be healthy. Like that's what you make your predictions off of.
At the
So,
same
like,
time,
I still think we would have got there to 40.
at the same time, everybody like league wide, because I had been watching a couple little like other podcasts like talking about like how they felt like the league was going to go and stuff like that throughout this year, and a lot of people had the Lakers going in the playoffs, but because of multiple injuries, it's a reason why they like got knocked out. Like that's what I was saying in the sense of like injuries play a factor into how I was estimating it. I didn't think injuries would affect the Lakers as much as it did this season. And that's why, to me, that's why they got knocked out. Is because injuries affected them that much more than it did other teams. Because the Lakers have the talent to make the playoffs.
Who cares about the Lakers?
Either way,
it goes to what I said last week, which is that like when we make the predictions, we normally do them in like a best case scenario kind of thing. And I think Jake just, when it came to his season, he didn't really do it like that. He kind of factored in a lot of let's take some bumps along the way and see what, like he kind of did it. In my opinion, that's kind of how he viewed it. You know what I mean? Not as like best case scenario. This is where I see us. But this is where
I even like said at the beginning of the season of like one of my biggest things was like these guys have it enough in them to make games close, to not have a single game where we're not in it. But I felt like a couple of those games, more of those games this season, were going to be leaning towards losses than they were going to lean towards wins, because we just don't have the guys to finish a game. We don't have a couple things in that manner, right?
And we had like historically bad, like on the other end of like losing all those games. Like, did you predict that we were going to be like 0-30 after losing, like after the third quarter, like stuff like that? Like, I don't know. There are some things that were like anomaly, like, oh my God, like how are we losing like all these games? But I think we kind of started to balance it out here at the end of after the All-Star break. I think the numbers are going to be a little bit still like bad team, like losing team, right? Losing record. But I think it's more of like a indicator of, they needed to get their feet under them. I'm still going to stick.
Wasn't our point differential like for a part of the season we were positive and we were still had a losing record?
It still is like kind of like, well, at one point it was positive. And I think it still is like, I don't know, like the actual point differential, but like our net rating right now is still positive, like by 0.2. Like we're an average middle of the league team, and I don't know. I predicted that we were going to be like an average team. 40 wins is like, you lose as much as you win, and that's kind of where I was at. I didn't expect us to start Drew Eubanks and Kata, but I guess Jake did, and that's what it is. I guess credit to you, Jake.
Well, all right. To look at the weekly scoreboard, Juan gained another point and Chris gained a point. So Chris is actually close up on me to finish out this year. I might get knocked down.
Are we gonna use the play-ins though, or are we just using the Dallas game?
Well, because I mean, our weekly prediction has the two other play-in games. And there's even a chance where we don't even where
we don't even have 3
so
games.
if Jacob, I mean, if we win tonight,
if we win tonight,
then Juan gets the tiebreaker because he's older.
Jake,
well, so then it's between me and Chris at that point, right? If
for second place,
Chris,
do I want higher odds in my?
All right, so then Chris, just because.
So first off, everybody predicted the Mavs game for sure. Jake's the only one who said lost on that one.
That's what I was gonna say. Is that like we'll do it like that, right? We'll use the Mav game as this break thing, where if the Mavs win today, Chris gets the point. If the Mavs lose, I get the point.
Let's do that.
And that way there won't be any ties. Well, no, there will be a tie if Chris wins and I don't. But we'll figure out how we'll get this tiebreaker. We'll figure out what we could do. Maybe me and Chris do a little playoff. Maybe we continue this into the playoffs and guess who wins for another team or something like that.
I say 1v1, 21.
That'd have to be at the end of the season, but or at the end of April. But guys, before I finish this out, do y'all have any last words on the week?
Nope. Go Spurs, go.
Yep. Go Spurs.
Yeah, excited for the plan. I forgot to bring up a topic because Jake, we always like talk about Jake and the Heat or whatever, and I think Bam Adebayo had some stuff to say about Pop this week, but we can we can move on from
Yeah,
it.
Jake, how do
Hey,
you,
it's speaking of Bam Adebayo, he's a center, right? And I think he's like number 2 on Defense Player of the Year. And you just left him off of your centers. You said that Jakob's number 2.
Yeah, I think Jakob's a top 2 defensive center in the league. That doesn't. I mean, Bam has a lot more versatility, but I wouldn't
No,
say
but I'm
Bam
saying on the depoy race, like if you just look it up, it's like number 1 Rudy and number 2 Bam.
because Yak doesn't get love. Because Yak doesn't get love. That's the thing that I'm gonna say. I think Yak has like better defensive instincts than Bam Adebayo does, but Bam has a lot better athleticism. I'll give him that credit. Like he's a lot more versatile. Either way, guys. Before I finish out this podcast, we do go live on Sundays at 10 a.m. I plan to do this podcast through this summer to talk whether it's like Spurs basketball, general basketball. I want to have this podcast going through the summer to do just whatever I can and keep this continuity going into the next year. But we will be going live on Sundays at 10 a.m. where we do go live to the platforms of YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook. All of which you can catch us live at those times. But if you cannot catch us during our said live time, the VODs will be on all 4 platforms right after the video is done. Make sure that you do follow us on Twitter at Heroes Half Court, where we do talk Spurs basketball on the nearly daily. We do love having the interactions with the Spurs community and the Spurs Twitterverse, so do not be afraid to reach out and have a Spurs conversation with us. But with that being
over on DeJounte Murray triple-double in the playing game?
Over under. What do you guys have?
Over.
I'm gonna say under. I don't think he's gonna need it. I feel like enough guys are gonna show up.
Okay. Chris?
Like, do I think he'll get a triple double?
Yeah. Over under on 0.5 triple doubles. Is he going to get over? Yes. He's going to get the triple double.
I mean, I think it's possible. I think for sure he'll lead the team in scoring. Hopefully, our guys are producing enough to where he's setting everybody up and getting some good assists.
You know what? He's gonna miss it by rebounds because Jakob's gonna have a monster game.
Yeah. So I mean, I'll be honest. Like, I kind of hope that it is like that one New Orleans game that we had talked about, that February one, where just a lot of evenly distributed points led by DeJounte. I want to see KJ have a great game. I want to see him play with a lot of energy. I want to see Devin not feel like he's left out, even if it's just 3 or 4 timely shots throughout the game and good defensive energy. So I don't know about the triple double, but I want to see a lot of good things from everybody. I want to see Jakob throw a couple swats out there. Like, I want to see it all.
To balance it out, I will also say over, because I think DeJounte can get his 20, 10, and 10 pretty easily.
30, 15, and 15. Book it.
But all right, and then guys, I hope everybody has a wonderful and blessed Sunday. With that being said, we are out. Peace.